When you say writing them for them, like 100%, like you're doing all the work.
Kid comes to me and I got this essay due tomorrow. It's 10 pages, $500. I'll write the paper. They'd pay me with mommy's credit card. I would take a little Adderall and stay up all night and write a paper. So I started a second company called Rave Doctor. So the purpose of the supplement, protect you from any free radical damage and also help you recover if you were to take any recreational drugs.
How much trouble are you talking about? Like what kind of trouble did you get in?
I actually got charged with a 3rd-degree felony. We were driving around the neighborhood and these kids were like flicking us off. So my friend pulled over. Me and him walked into the garage.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Business. Today we got a very special guest, Jay Feldman. Jay, on every episode I do a quick introduction, so I'm going to introduce yourself. Jay is the co-founder of Otter PR, an entrepreneur and a former medical professional. Under his leadership, Otter PR has become one of the fastest growing PR firms in the US, helping businesses and thought leaders gain media exposure and build authority. He also hosts the Mentors Collective podcast, where he interviews top entrepreneurs and industry experts on business, success, and mindset. Before diving into PR, Jay founded and sold Installite, his social media marketing agency, solidifying his expertise in brand building and digital influence. Initially, he pursued medicine, earning his degree from Touro College in osteopathic medicine and serving as president of his school's American Medical Association chapter. Despite scoring in the top 90% on the medical boards, his entrepreneurial drive led him to pivot towards business and media. Beyond Otter PR, Jay is a business and health influencer, sharing educational content and mentoring entrepreneurs. He currently resides in Florida, focusing on growing Otter PR and helping others build their brands. What an intro, Jay. Welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Hope to do it justice, and I'm honored to be here.
That intro, Dan, I think I think a lot of people, if they're just listening to the intro, they think of like a 70-year-old sitting in the chair.
Yeah. How old are you?
I feel 70 sometimes. I feel like I've been through 9 lives.
Yeah.
I'm 33, just turned
Nice.
33 in November.
Wow.
It's Ron's age.
Yeah,
When's your
that's awesome,
resume
though.
going to look like that?
What'd you say?
When's your resume
no,
gonna look like that?
He's been a doctor, sold companies, everything like that. I'm excited to talk to you, Jay.
Thank you.
It was interesting when we brought your name up too, to Alex, who was emailing you. She's up in Cincinnati too.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I've watched this guy's YouTubes on health and different things like that. And it's funny how it came full circle. Like she's watched you on YouTube somewhere and then we brought you on. So we're excited to have you, man.
Thank you. And that's funny. I originally kind of got known as like a medical influencer.
Dr. J.
Yeah, Dr. Jay Feldman. And then had to essentially pivot completely once I left medicine into marketing and business. So it's always funny when like, hey, I recognize you from YouTube. Like which one? Because the medical audience and the marketing audience is so different.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I want to start from a younger age in your early years, before work, before all of that. Like talk about your childhood, where you're raised, what your dynamics look like.
Childhood. Upper white class family in Parkland, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I was obsessed with volleyball. I was a professional volleyball player growing up, had tons of animals. We had a pet kangaroo jumping around our backyard.
No
it was
way.
my mom's like job and obsession. We had a pig, a kangaroo, a prairie dog. Yeah. So a wallaby. It's a mini kangaroo, but it's got a pouch. I used to jump around with a little Tootsie Roll in there on Halloween.
That's crazy.
So it was a fun, interesting way to grow up.
Yeah.
So definitely had a great childhood. I'd say things really went, every entrepreneur has some kind of like back against the wall story. So mine kind of happened my senior year of high school. Got in with a bad crowd and actually got in some trouble my senior year of high school. And it was right after my dad was laid off from his job. This was 2007, housing crisis. He was the CFO of a home building company. So went from, $250,000 a year to nothing. And we had all these bills. We went bankrupt. We sold our home. And right after all of that happened, I essentially had to go to work to pay for my legal bills because my family couldn't handle my legal bills. So I went to work for my dad's new company that he was working with as a collections agent, sitting in this cubicle for like $8 an hour, making collections calls. People freaking hate collections calls. So just getting cursed out all day. So through that happening, I also didn't get into the college that I wanted to get into. I went to Florida Gulf Coast University for my first 2 years and really kind of felt like a failure. I let everyone down, my friends, my family. And that was kind of back against the wall. Okay, but I hated this cubicle. I hated life. I had let everybody down. I'm going to turn this thing around. I'm smart enough to do it, and I know I'm capable of it. So during those 2 years of undergrad, I kind of made the decision, like, no partying, no drugs. I'm just going to like put my head down and work. And during that time, I didn't get a single B. I went pre-med. I worked in the hospital during any spare time that I had. And I made it my mission. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to make this up to my friends, my family. I'm not going to be this fuck up that I essentially turned into that senior year. And from there, I transferred to University of Florida and ended up crushing my MCAT, getting into medical school. And I took a year off between medical school and graduating. And that's when I really got into business.
Got it. And how much trouble are you talking about? Like, what kind of trouble did you get in? And you share whatever's comfortable.
Sure. So ended up so stupid. We were driving around the neighborhood and these kids were like standing outside of the street, like flicking us off, just doing like little kids stupid stuff. So my friend pulled over and me and him walked into the garage of the house that they ran into. We like stopped, pulled over, thought we were tough, and took a bottle of liquor from the freezer, got back in the car and left. And actually got charged with a 3rd-degree felony, robbery of a occupied home.
Wow.
Yeah. And they like went after us hard. They found both of us. I admitted the whole thing. I've never been in trouble before. Got taken to jail in my little pink cutoff that I was wearing at school.
Jeez.
It was just a horrible day. But
Imagine.
yeah, pled no contest to a 3rd-degry felony. It's now expunged and wiped. I was 17 at the time, thank God. But yeah, just a horrible wake-up call. I probably could have gotten into a lot of great schools, but didn't. And I honestly still look at that kind of as a blessing.
Yeah.
Like if I would have gone to Florida State, would I still have been able to keep my nose down and grind? Probably not. So I've kind of kept that philosophy throughout life. Like bad shit happens. Hasn't happened in a while, thank God. But there's always a silver lining, and there's always looking back at it, like a reason that it happened, even if it's not clear at the time.
Got it. And you have any siblings?
Younger brother, younger sister.
2 younger, so you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest.
Did you feel like that could affect them seeing you like that in any negative way? Like, did you have any, because you're like the mentor. How much younger are they?
4 and 6 years. So my little sister, who I'm close with, is 4 years younger. And then my brother, who now lives in Germany with his German wife and speaks German.
Wow.
He is 6 years younger than me. Got
it. And going back, what was kind of your family dynamics like just growing up from a young age? Are you close with your brother and your sister? And what was your relationship like with your parents?
I wouldn't say I was ever close with either of my parents, probably closer with my dad. Didn't have much in common with my mom, still don't have much in common with my brother, but my dad was an athlete, so we bonded over that. My sister, also an athlete. I trained her, taught her how to play volleyball. Very civil. I've got great parents, very nice people. My brother and sister too. How it affected them? I'm sure it did. I'm sure they saw the struggle. I don't think they ever got in any trouble in their life. Hopefully this contributed to it. They're able to see some of the repercussions, what it did to our family, what it did to me. So hopefully they took a lesson from that.
Yeah. And you were very active in the volleyball community growing up. From what age did you start that?
Like 14. I've been playing since the beginning of high school.
You still play?
Recreationally sometimes. I always think about it. I dream about it sometimes. Like, what would it be like if I went back and just like dropped everything, took my money and like played volleyball for the rest of my life. But I played very competitively. It's my whole life for a long time. I was captain of my team in high school and college. I played professionally on the beach for 5-6 years. My old beach volleyball partner, who I played with for years, is now one of the top ranked players in the country. So played at a very high level. It was my whole life and slowly tapered off, especially in medical school.
Right.
Once that started, volleyball was pretty much over.
Got it. Yeah, I have a friend who plays professional. He's off now, but it's crazy because he'd go on these contracts and go to Saudi Arabia and all these, in Italy and all these other, his name's Sam Holt, his brother's Max Holt, who's one of the captains on.
I think I know the name.
Oh yeah, he's been the captain for a long time on Team USA, but it's not sand, it's court.
Yeah, I played both.
Yeah. So I've seen that grind, and it seems cool though, the life they live.
It's a fun sport.
What did you play at all in college then?
Yeah, I played all through college.
You played all through college?
Yeah, I wasn't on like a scholarship or anything.
Got it.
But yeah, I played very competitively in college for the club team.
Got it.
and traveled all over the country.
And you said you're pre-med in college.
Yeah.
And going into that, is that what you like? When did you decide you wanted to go pre-med and that's what you wanted to do?
Grew up in like a traditional Jewish family, and like my mom and my grandma's dream for me forever was go be a doctor.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off as like a psychology major. I didn't know. I was like most other kids coming in like, all right, let's see what happens. But being a doctor was always kind of in the back of my mind. For my family, that was like the pinnacle of success is be a doctor, be a plastic surgeon, you know, bragging rights for grandma, respect, money. So when I started school, I got a job at the hospital as a medical scribe, which is where you just follow around the doctors and you do their notes, you learn the lingo, learn the terminology, and really just see if it's for you. And I did that my second year of college and fell in love with it and transitioned my major to biology and pre-med. And it was a pretty easy decision.
Very nice.
I didn't know anything about business at the time. 0 entrepreneurs in the family. That wasn't even a thought.
Any other, I want to start moving into college and even post-college a little bit, but anything else like in your first 18 years that were the big events, anything that's happened that you want to, do you think others should know in terms of just,
Shaping you.
Yeah, shaping you.
I would say the arrest is the big event. In terms of what else shaped me, the sports really shaped me. So I think being on a team and learning the work ethic to like be the best at something. And I was short for volleyball. You might look at me and say, tall guy. Most people are 6'1", but for my competitive teams, my best friends growing up were 6'10" and 6'6". So I'm walking around. I'm like the tiniest person on the court. So I had to work extra hard to be able to compete at that level. Called me the Flying Jew at one point. I had like almost a 40-inch vertical.
Wow.
Yeah, I was flying.
That's up there.
And you do it through crying at the gym every day, doing jump exercises. And I think that work ethic helped me become a good doctor and then eventually helped me become a superhuman entrepreneur.
Got it. So going into that, or do you have anything to touch on that?
No, I think that's awesome. No, I think the something like becoming a felon at 17, like I'm sure, like I think there's only 2 ways that can go. Like
Yes.
one way go really downhill, or one way like, okay, reflect and make a huge positive change. Like you were on such a straightforward path, and then it's like, okay, we had a really big event, and there's no in between. I don't think. I think it's like your life goes uphill really fast, and you learn and adjust, or it goes downhill really fast. And was it ever like, it was always like, I fucked up. Like it was always kind of that from the start. Like I'm going to admit to everything I did, and like just taking accountability opposed to like, I did it because they flicked me off or something like that. Cause that would be, some people's reaction would be like, they made me do it, or they flicked me off. They disrespect us, whatever. But was that from the start? Like, this is how I'm going to react to this situation.
In hindsight, knowing what I know now, or even what I learned 3 months down the line, would I have admitted to all of that when the police asked me? Absolutely not. Did I fuck up? Yes, clearly. I shouldn't have gone in there with my friend. That was stupid. We were young. But no, I wouldn't have admitted to it now. I think the fact that I did ended up being a good thing, looking at it years later. Clearly it was a mistake, and it could have gone one of 2 ways. And I think it comes down to like how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as a criminal and as a fuck up, or do you see yourself as better than this?
Yeah.
And you're going to figure out how to rise from the ashes and come back with a fury. And a lot of people I know have gone through the same thing, and I don't hear or talk to them anymore. They've just kind of crumbled into that version of themselves. So yeah, I'm proud of myself for how I've been able to handle that.
And when you went to college after that, so that happened when you're 17, you said, shortly after you go to college, did you feel like there was like a fire under your ass because of that, trying to prove yourself?
100%.
Explain that. So what were you trying to prove?
At that point, I feel like my family had completely written me off as, oh, he's going to FGCU. He's got a felony on his record. I wasn't the greatest student in high school because it wasn't my priority. I didn't care. I think I was the only student in my advanced math class in high school that got an F one semester and an A the next semester, all without studying. But yeah, I was trying to prove that I wasn't a fuck up, that I could do this, that I was smart and could be successful, not just to my family, but to myself, because like my identity had been shattered. Because everyone starts looking at you a certain way and expecting less from you. So yeah, like I said, school became the priority.
Right.
Are you still driven by like people doubting you or a little bit? Because some people like are. Daniel's one that like he loves when people like don't believe or whatever, and like, all right, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Is that still how you kind of do things on a not day to day, but as in your life?
You know, it's funny, as you attain more success, I feel like you stop facing that feeling as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that feeling is such a great fuel that when you have it, you need to use it.
Mm.
Because I mean, for the past, I mean, it's been years now where I've just been on like a really great track of success. And now it's rare that anybody looks at me and says, I doubt he can do that.
Yeah.
Which is almost like a crutch. Like I can't use that at all. That doesn't help.
Mm.
It helps when people doubt me for sure. And there's been a couple other points in my life, like leaving medicine. I didn't have very much at that point to justify that decision. I had a whole bunch of people doubting me, calling me a fuck up and a failure, calling myself an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
which basically means unemployed and who knows what he does for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that helps, but I haven't had that feeling in a while. Now I mean, everything's momentum. You can be in a downward spiral or you can be in an upward spiral. But if you can ride that momentum, then you can self-motivate and hopefully you don't need that fire under your ass
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Makes sense.
So you went 2 years at Florida Gulf Coast, going back to college, and 2 years at Florida.
Correct. Transferred to University of Florida, trying to be a doctor.
All pre-med.
All pre-med.
And you graduated with pre-med.
Yeah, pre-med's not a degree,
Right.
technically.
What is
Pre-med is a track. It's classes that you need to take to get admitted into medical school.
Understood. Okay. So what was the degree called that you?
Biological science.
Okay. And you graduated in biological science.
Graduated with a degree in, biological science with a minor in chemistry.
And then after that, what was your track? After you graduated, what'd you do next? The very next step.
So took the MCAT, did okay, but didn't know much. Probably overestimated how good my grades in MCAT were. Applied to only to the MD schools in Florida. Like I should be able to get into one of these. So my first time applying, I actually didn't get in. And that was another like, oops, maybe won't get into medical school now. Now what? So I took a year off after I didn't get in because you need to wait a whole cycle. I'm like, okay, I'm going to redo my MCAT. I'm going to work at the hospital for a year. And then I'm going to apply much more broadly the next year. And this year off will be good for me. So during that year off, I moved to Tallahassee to live with my friend Jesse Henry, who is one of my best friends of all time. And he was the president of the Entrepreneurship Club at Florida State. I was also dating Tridelt there, Madison. I'd been dating her for about 4 years. So between Jesse and Madison, easy decision. I'll move to Tallahassee, work at the hospital, redo my MCAT, and chill for a year. And then that exposure with Jesse is probably another huge event that kind of changed my path and trajectory in life. My exposure to entrepreneurship through what he was doing.
That was like 21, 22 at this point.
I was, 22. I just graduated college. Yeah, I had never had any exposure to business, no family in business. And then I saw him. He's had a koozie company and a video production company just through like his college internships that he had done for his business track. And it was funny. I was working at the hospital and a lot of shifts were the overnight shifts. You see like 2 patients for a 12-hour shift. I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, like playing games. What am I going to do to kill some time? Studying. Like, I got to make some money. They're paying me $10 an hour. I could be sitting here doing something with that. So I actually started tutoring and writing papers for kids just as a way to earn some extra bucks during my downtime. And ended up turning into a pretty successful company while I was there with Jesse's help. We could talk to what went into that, but ended up leaving the hospital within like 3 to 4 months of working there in Tallahassee and going all in on this new business.
That's crazy. So prior to at any point, like up to this point in your life, is like medicine's not for me, like, or is this kind of like maybe medicine's not right for me at this point? Because you were still like studying and gonna do your MCATs again. Is this the first time, or did you even feel that at this time, like medicine might not be my long-term thing?
No, that thought never even crossed my mind.
Interesting.
I loved working in the emergency room. I was really good at it. I didn't really have an alternative, especially on that track. Once you invest so much time and money and identity into this thing, you're just locked in. I would say the second guessing it never really came until like later on in medical school.
That makes sense. And is this all student loans? What does that all look like up to this point for getting that degree?
Yeah, I still have them too. I'm probably never going to pay them back,
Yeah.
no matter how much money I make. So I've got about $500,000
Wow.
in student debt.
We can get down to that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's funny with the programs that exist now with the government, and I have a company that manages it all now. I don't have to pay any of it back. It's
Really?
crazy.
Why is that? How is that?
So
Who's paying what? Like, is someone paying on behalf of you?
it's funny. It's a workaround, and it's probably okay because I don't think there's any lawyers while listening to this. Hopefully not. It's called income-driven repayment, and it's a program available through the government for government-subsidized loans, where they essentially let you pay 10% of your disposable income towards that loan per year. So you don't. It's not like a normal loan where you have to pay a set amount of it over a 10, 20-year period. They look at your income instead. And the way that they look at your income is every year you submit one pay stub to them and say, this is my pay stub. This is the income that it's going to be based off of. This is the loss, how it's written. And I've got like a legal firm that helps me manage all of it. So every year I send them a pay stub, and I own my own companies and we process payments ourselves. So every year I get one small pay stub that shows like the minimum necessary to have 0 loan payments. We submit that, and I have 0 loan payments throughout the entire year. And after 20 years, these loans are completely forgiven, wiped out, with the caveat that you have to pay the taxes on that loan being wiped off as if you were receiving it as income. So for a $500,000 loan, it'll be like 30% of that one time after 20 years. And it's accruing 0 interest too.
So after 20 years, you have to pay that.
Now, after 20 years, the loan gets wiped, but you have to pay like that 30%, whatever it would be, if it were to be billed as income.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting. It doesn't work.
It's like a
if you're-
loophole.
It's a especially if you're an entrepreneur who's a doctor and has these big loans. Because if you're, getting $400K a year as a salaried surgeon somewhere, you don't really have the flexibility to be like, yo, give me this small pay stub.
Right.
You're a W-2 employee. That's not an option. But if you're a business owner and you can utilize this loophole, absolutely.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And it definitely wasn't designed for people like me, because what doctors do this? Like,
Not a lot.
not a lot.
No.
But
Interesting.
They don't have pay stubs they can't send in pay stubs because that's way too much money if they're sending in pay stubs. So you quit that hospital in Tallahassee after 3 or 4 months. Is that correct?
yeah, when business started to take off and I didn't need to work there anymore, I wanted to focus on scaling this new company, which was called SA Chief, writing a lot of papers, doing a lot of tutoring. Ended up leaving the hospital and going all in on this.
SA? Oh, SA Chief.
Yeah, like a
Yep.
written essay.
Yeah.
When you say writing them for them, like 100%, like you're doing all the work for them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people. Is that for high schoolers? Is that for college? Is that
It
a
was
combination?
college.
Okay.
So I was at Florida State and I had a lot of friends in Greek life there. So it started off just like me writing the papers for people during emergencies, and I would write them while I was at the hospital. Get $50 a page in some cases. Kid comes to me and, I got this essay due tomorrow. It's 10 pages on this topic. I'm like, all right, $500. I'll write the paper.
There you
And
go.
They'd pay me with mommy's credit card, and I would take a little Adderall and stay up all night and write a paper. I got more education that year than I did
I bet.
my 4 years prior. I wrote so many papers.
Were people happy with them?
The ones that I wrote, they were all very happy with. The problems came when I started to
Outsourcing.
write.
Makes sense.
And in most cases, it was fine. But of course, there's always issues once you start outsourcing,
yeah.
especially when you're new and especially when it's academic papers.
That makes sense.
Any legal issues with that, or is that fine? Or like any professors ever find out?
So I wasn't a student there.
Yeah.
Legally, there's no problem. Student code of conduct, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because technically, they're buying the IP for that paper from me. They now own the legal rights to that. So maybe I could sue them for IP violation, but I'm selling them the IP.
Yeah.
So no legal violations, but of course it's against their student code of conduct that they signed.
It's enabling them.
So they could get expelled essentially, or get kicked out of school theoretically if they got caught.
Sure. Yeah. They're definitely
It's
violating.
cheating. They're cheating by hiring you to write the paper, but you're not doing anything wrong because you're not, a
Correct.
student of there.
And there's nothing the courts could do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's not a court issue. It's a school
It's
issue.
a school. Yeah.
And everyone's very aware of
Yeah.
that they're breaking a rule if they're turning
There's
in
a lot
someone
of
else's
businesses
paper.
that are very similar to that.
There was a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was learning a lot from them. And now these businesses are probably toast. I don't know what they're doing with
ChatGPT,
yeah.
AI.
Right. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, that always blows my mind. Okay, so that's 3 to 4 months you quit. You did this for how long now, the SA chief?
Just the rest of that year. Probably an extra 7, 8 months. And then I used that money, went through to Europe with my friends for 2 months prior to starting medical school. Got into a bunch of great medical schools this time around. Made the decision to go to my top choice in New York, Toro College of Medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And traveled Europe with that SA chief money. Kind of kept the company going for another year or so. I wasn't very good at marketing or automations or systems at the time. I was just relying on word of mouth from my friends in sororities and Greek life. I'd wake up in the morning with a pack of business cards from Vistaprint, and I'd put them on people's cars before they went to school. I'd hang up flyers, but none of that really lasted when I left and went to medical school. I didn't know anything about marketing. So within a year, I'd say it fizzled out.
And you went to medical, what year was this now in medical school? Toro.
2015, I believe.
That's when you started?
Yeah.
And how long was that program?
4 years.
Did you go all 4 years?
Yep.
Oh, wow, you finished it.
I finished medical school, got my DO degree.
That's crazy.
Is that any different than MD as far as like getting that, or what does that look like on the back end?
It's an equivalent degree.
Okay.
So same schooling, same residency programs. The big difference between MD and DO is MD tends to focus a little bit more on research, where DO tends to focus a little bit more on like holistic, general health. And in terms of like tiers, people are always thinking MD is superior to DO. I'd say there's 3 tiers. It's like MD US is by far the hardest to get into. Right under that is US DO, but almost 30% of the MDs that you see when you're getting healthcare are from the Caribbean. So there's a whole machine of churning out MDs from these islands. And
Because they can't get into school here? Or
they can't get into MD or DO school in the US. And it's a really high churn rate from those schools, and they're very expensive. But if the ones that make it through are now US MDs.
why did you go DO route?
1, didn't get into any good US MDs. And then 2, over Caribbean, it's just, I mean, it's what people do. If you get into USMD, you go. If you don't, you go to a USDO. If you don't get into either of those, you go Caribbean.
But it wasn't like a type of medicine thing, like as far as a holistic thing that you believed more in. It was just like, this is what I got in, this is what I'm going to choose.
Yes.
Okay.
Best school I could go to and the best location I could go to.
And that was in New York?
Yeah.
What part of New York?
Manhattan. So it's actually right next to Columbia. It's in Harlem, West Harlem.
Is that where most of your debt racked up? Was those 4 years or the previous?
Yeah, that was it.
Those
yeah,
4
well,
you're
years.
in New York. Yeah, you're in Manhattan, and then that's a lot of
it was like
different-
$90K a year
Wow.
in loans between the school and they
Living.
subsidize your living as well.
What were you living alone then, or do you have a roommate?
I had roommates through those 4 years. So the first year I lived like East Harlem. It was rough with this older couple that my friend knew. And there's someone like waiting downstairs every day to like scare any of my friends that came in. There were someone who like took a dump on the doorstep like every couple days in a wheelchair, but I'd come home every couple days and he's squatting outside of his wheelchair, just pooping on the street.
Jeez.
And I have to,
That's New
I have
York,
like
man.
a half a mile walk from there to my medical school through Harlem, and kind of scary, but I
Yeah.
feel like it was some good exposure for
Get
me.
some
I'd never seen
exposure.
anything like that before.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that was 4 years you were there.
In medical school,
Yeah,
yes.
that's-
So medical school is interesting. The first 2 years you're in the classroom. You're dissecting bodies, you're doing lectures, you're doing tests. The second 2 years of medical school is clinical rotations. So you're going from clinics and hospitals, and you're actually getting hands-on practical knowledge with doctors in various specialties, and that's a lot of fun.
Any businesses during this time?
Yeah.
So what'd you start during this time? When was that?
So the SA chief fizzled out probably within a year of medical school. So year 2 of medical school, I'm living in New York City. I'm like, I gotta get out of this shithole apartment. I gotta make some money again. So I started a second company. It's called Rave Doctor. So my friend and current business partner, Scott, actually gave me a call one day because I was the only friend that he had that had started a business to this point. He's like, Jay, I want to start a business. I want to start a supplement company. I need some help. Can you give me some advice? So I'm like, well, I'm kind of interested. I'm in medical school, so it kind of makes sense. Why don't you tell me some of your ideas? So we both loved the EDM scene. So we made a decision to start a company called Rave Doctor. I formulated a supplement, took a while. We went through several iterations. So I concocted this pre-rave recovery and protection supplement. And we launched it on Amazon, on Shopify. And to this day, it's still the number one selling EDM supplement on Amazon. It still does very well. Obviously, it's a limited market for selling EDM recovery supplements, but it's one of my favorite businesses.
Nice. How'd that work as far as like what someone who takes that, what can they expect?
So when you go to a rave, you're expecting a few things to happen to your body, and a lot of people are using recreational drugs. So the purpose of the supplement is to pack you full of antioxidants to protect you from any free radical damage, damage from muscle breakdown, and also help you recover if you were to take any recreational drugs. So healthy brain supplements, vitamin B complex, stuff like that.
Interesting. How fast did that, like, what was the timeline for when your buddy came to you? You said what's his name?
Scott.
Scott. When Scott came to you versus like when you had a product on the market, how long was that?
Probably 6 months.
Okay.
Of developing, branding, working with manufacturers. So we moved, I'd say, relatively quickly for how inexperienced we were.
For sure.
Found a good manufacturer. We didn't sell very fast. It was a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and this is where I kind of learned marketing. It's like, all right, how are we going to move some product? So reached out to a bunch of companies through cold outreach, did some Instagram automation, which was really hot at the time, and started to sell some product. And then it really took off once we kind of figured out Amazon.
That's wild. Like you're doing a lot at once. Like was school just easy for you, or is it just like you didn't sleep, or like talk about like that? Cause you're still in medical school. A lot of people talk about just doing medical school and like they can't get through it or they struggle. But you're also building a company at the same time. Talk about that balance.
I think that's probably the reason that led me to eventually leave medicine, is because the balance is really just really too hard to handle, especially when you're doing something full time like medical school. I mean, medical school is supposed to be 80 hours a week. Yeah. And it kind of was. I'm probably faster than most when it comes to studying, retaining knowledge, getting work done, but still I'm not superhuman.
What year did you start this? What year of medical school did you start this company?
My second year. And then my third year is when I started Installite, my marketing agency that's kind of evolved into what I do now.
Wow.
And what happened with the Rave Doctor company? You said it's still going. Did you sell it or you still own it and just it works in the background?
We still own it 50-50, and now it requires very little time.
Is that the same business partner as you have now?
Yeah, with Otter.
Scott. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll get more into that. So then you started Installite.
Yes. Third year, I took a lot of the skills that I learned to market Rave Doctor, and I started to sell those as a marketing agency. A lot of social media ads, social media services, social media automation. So we were helping a lot of medical professionals, particularly, grow on social and run their ads.
Makes sense. And that company you ended up selling?
Yes.
How long did you own it until you sold it?
I owned it until my first year of residency. So when I graduated medical school, I'm like, there's no way that I can keep doing this. Fourth year of medical school is generally really cushy. You're doing rotations on your own, trying to like feel out what programs you like to do your residency in. So there's a lot more free time your fourth year. But I realized that once residency started, this would probably not be something that I could do full time.
So yeah. And after those 4 years, you went to residency.
Yes.
And you sold the company before residency then?
Yes.
Right before?
Right before.
Yeah. Okay. And then how long did you do residency for?
1 year. And that's when I left.
Okay. And how long was residency going to be?
3 to 6 years, depending on what track that I took. So it was in a 3-year family medicine residency program.
And not making much money.
No, zero money, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And
what's the dropout of, if you break it up from pre-med to med school to residency, when are most people dropping out? Like
pre-med.
That's what I would figure.
By
How many
far.
actually drop out in resident after going through that whole thing?
In residency?
Yeah.
Almost none.
That's what I thought. That's
Almost
really
none.
because you went through the hard work, you're racking up all the debt, all of that stuff, and then you decided to quit after 1 year to pursue.
It's also really hard to fail out of residency. No one really fails out of residency. You
You're
can
still
fail your
job.
boards.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can
could
fail
fail.
your boards, or you can get fired.
What's the
for
boards exams?
Yeah. So that's 3 steps that you have to pass to get board certified in something.
Got it. And what kind of doctor? I know you're DO, but did you have like a route by then?
Yeah. I was in a family medicine residency. So I
Family
was going to be
medicine.
a general practitioner, family doctor. And my original goal was to go start like a med spa, do more modern medicine, IV treatments, cosmetic treatments. I really wanted to help. I was very interested in longevity and some of the cutting edge innovations in medicine. I still am, and I'm now involved in a peptide company, so I'm very into that stuff.
Got it. All right. So uh, I want to dive into the decision of leaving because that's crazy after going through all of that to leave year one. Like, what conversations did you have behind the scenes, or was it just you that made the decision? Then you went to your parents and friends and family and everyone. Because going here, you're trying to prove everyone wrong, right? Like the after high school and all that stuff. What was that like with the dynamics in your family?
Not good with the family. So it wasn't just a random decision to leave.
Yeah.
I had started another company, Otter PR, while we were in medical school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, while we were in residency. So residency, I ended up having, there's like periods where you want to die because you're so overworked. And then there's these 2-week stretches where you're working overnights for 2 weeks and you have all this time to kill. So my brain's sitting there like, okay, I need to do something to make some money during this time. And Instantly, by the way, had just crashed and burned. And I had not been able to get very much money out of that. A lot of the strategies that we were using to grow the company and to provide services had basically been cut off. Almost 80% of our business was generated through Instagram automation. And for anyone who knows anything about Instagram, automation pretty much died in like 2019. They just turned it all off at once, and the company was barely able to survive that. So during one of those long overnight 2-week shifts, started Otter PR, took a lot of those clients from Installite and basically transitioned them into this new offer. That actually started to take off, and it did really well. And Scott was a partner on that. So I was miserable at work. I had this successful business towards the end of this residency. And I started to get pressure from the residency that you can't be doing both of these things. You need to shut down the business. You need to shut down the social media, or that's it.
Got it. And you had multiple businesses there. You still had the Rave, and you also now have Otter.
Yes.
And you decided to go entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Got it. And then when you quit, was that like full on Otter PR? That was your focus at the point?
So it's funny. Right after we made the decision to leave, it's like COVID, like immediately.
Ooh.
Which was actually amazing for us. I mean, it was a crazy time for all of my friends in medicine, but the fact that I got out right before all of that happened, and now I had nothing to do but sit there with Scott, who was living with me at the time, for 14 hours a day and do nothing but work on growing this business. That's what I think led it to grow so quickly. And our access to talent at the time, which was very cheap. Everybody was unemployed, looking for stuff to do. We were able to get really amazing people to come work with us really early on.
Wow.
What was that offer look? Sorry, Dan. What was that offer? What did that first offer look like at Otter? You said you transitioned some people, some of the doctors from your other company. But what was that initial offer for Otter PR?
So we're still learning a lot about PR. I had some success doing it with Installite, but the initial offer with Otter PR was $500 a month, and we'll be your publicist. We'll get you guaranteed coverage every month. $500 a month.
Doctors?
Not just doctors.
Anyone.
It really only works for people that have some kind of notable story or product. Doctors are easy because getting them quoted in things is a joke. It's super easy. But we were able to get some really impressive coverage for a lot of people.
Interesting.
Especially during COVID. News cycles were going crazy. Everyone was consuming news. We had one of our big early clients, Le Bijou Hotel. It was a really high-end hotel that basically turned all of their rooms and service into like a quarantine for the rich. Like, come stay in our hotel rooms. We'll like bring everything to you. And that story just blew up, got nationwide coverage, and really put us on the map.
And that's still one of your core offerings, correct? You're offering, just exposure like that. That's what your business is.
Yeah, we'll get you media coverage. We'll be your media relations arm. I mean, now it's not $500 a month, it's $8,000 a month, and our clients are generally a lot bigger. But yes.
That's awesome. And going there, because the reason I learned about you guys and we had you on too, you were in my co-working space, and I saw you guys scale, and I saw the culture you guys have, and then you outgrew that space and you moved into your own building, and now you're growing. You put an office in Orlando. I saw. Talk about your culture a little bit, because you said it was really easy to get talent for affordable prices during COVID and all that, but your culture is very, very specific when you look at it from the outside in, at least. Talk about that a little bit.
Culture is an interesting thing. So I think it's changed a lot over the years. So it started me and Scott in a condo building, and we would actually bring our employees into the condo to work with us. And startup culture versus like big company culture is so different. The mission is different. People are joining for very different reasons. Because when it's a startup and our first like 10 hires and we're less than a year old and we're growing 800% month over month, it's exciting. They're part of the ride. They're strapped to the rocket ship. They're invested in me and Scott and our vision. We're hiring them. We're training them. We're all doing everything. So that camaraderie is actually it's fun. It's exciting. And you really get people that are invested in you and in the mission.
Mm.
I'd say as we grow, I don't know people we hire now. I have no part of that hiring or training process. I'm building, I'm the visionary. So I feel like the culture starts to escape you as you grow. I'd say when that started to happen is when we involved like an HR director and a COO to displace us from the company. Now you can, and this is what companies do. They try and artificially create culture through events, through get-togethers, through happy hours. So we try and throw those things in as much as possible. But it's definitely different from startup culture to where we are now. I mean, now people are joining because we've got benefits, because we've got flexibility. So it's a very different, I feel like, type of employee that we're getting, and a very different culture now than it was when we first got started.
That makes a lot of sense. Just kind of because you're not like, it's not someone, the 60th employee isn't as important as the third employee, and like doesn't feel the same connection to the company or to you guys, obviously. That's interesting. So is that something that like you think, or that you think your company needs or something? Is that like something that you feel like you've lost in terms of the culture, or just like natural as you grow, like culture's just going to kind of leave a little bit?
This probably comes back to like the should people be in the office 5 days a week discussion. I think that's really where we lost the culture.
Mm.
Because back when we were starting and it was startup culture, everyone was in the office because we're all hustling. This is a new company. We can't afford any slack, people working from home. We don't have the systems to be able to help people from home. I mean, we could barely hired you ourselves and trained you ourselves. So you need to be here so we can help you do it. Now that we've gotten bigger, we've got HR directors, COO, we've got my co-founder, and if it were up to me, I'd have everybody in the office 5 days a week. But early on, we kind of made that decision to be more flexible with some of the team. And that flexibility has kind of spread to the entire team. And I think when that happens, it's really hard to take things away from people. So you give them the flexibility. Oh, cool. You only have to come in 1 day a week. I'll come in 1 day a week. All right, it's a Tuesday and there's 3 people here because 5 more people are coming on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to really hurt the culture.
Yeah.
So if I were to give any advice to business owners who are in that scaling process, where you're adding an HR director, a COO, and you've got people coming in person, don't give any slack on that.
Yeah.
So once you give it to one department, the other department looks at that department and says, why don't they have to be in the office? We shouldn't have to be in the office either. Or, all right, we only have to come in on Tuesdays. I can't do that Tuesday, so I guess I'll come in next Tuesday. And then 2 people show up on Tuesday and everyone's like, where's that guy? We're not coming.
Mm.
So I think that should be strict starting off. And a lot of big corporations are kind of seeing this now. They're asking people to come back into the office and people are quitting. They're just not doing it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have too many employees for your output? Like that's what I think a lot of,
It's hard to say.
yeah, like a lot of companies, I think like we have X amount of employees and our output's just not enough for this. Like something's being lost somewhere.
It depends who you ask.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, I'd say probably. And the reason for that is we've got lots of productivity metrics now. And I look at the productivity of our top performers and then the productivity of like the bottom 10%. And yeah, one of those guys is like 20 of those.
Right.
But how do you scale the top? Just by hiring more people and hoping that some of them really excel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you face this problem. Like, what do you do about that? Do you get rid of the bottom half and have just more pick up the slack? They're already so overburdened.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hire more and hope they're top performers? And I think the answer to that is keep hiring and keep firing until you've got a rock solid team.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always in that process. But yeah, I do think you need to get rid of your bottom performers.
Yeah.
That's the key.
So let's back up a little bit as far as like building these businesses. 'Cause at some point you're like, shit, I'm good at this entrepreneurship thing. I would think like you have Scott calling you, like, I want to start a company. Like that's how Rave Doctor started, sounded like.
Yes.
But like, when was it like light bulb? Like, I'm pretty good at this, or is it still like you're still always trying to learn? But just naturally, it's like you build, like you start something, then it grows and builds, and obviously you have a big company now. But when was it ever a light bulb moment? Like, I'm meant to do this entrepreneurship thing.
Otter PR was the light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
So how fast that took off based on the skills that I have learned from the 2 previous companies, I was able to launch this brand and start getting clients within like a week. That was like, okay, I'm meant to do this. I could do this over a 2-week overnight span shift and start making, more money than my friends who have been doing this for years are making through these skills that I've learned while I was in medical school. Imagine what I could do if I wasn't in medical school. That was kind of my light bulb moment. It was those 2 weeks. I built a business, launched it, got clients. I was like, this is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I should be doing that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. What about yours and Scott's relationship as far as business partners, how you guys kind of work with each other in terms of your different types of skill sets?
So there's a book called Rocket Fuel that I think kind of describes it perfectly. So I'm very much the visionary and he's the operator. I've got a lot of operator in me too. I do a lot of the back end operations. So Scott comes from like a very corporate background. He's very into like management and structure, and he has experience with giant companies that do that. I'm very into marketing, branding, and getting really into the weeds of like our offer, why people are buying it, how we're going to sell it. So our relationship dynamic, I think, is very good. There's a lot of trust, and it complements each other well, especially with a big company. I don't excel well dealing with people. I'm not a very good manager. I don't like hiring. I refuse to fire people. And he's able to handle all of those things: the numbers, the people, the management, and the delegation. I think where I really excel is sitting at my computer and building things. So whether that be automating things, building out brand assets, building out new ads, building out new offers, building out new email marketing campaigns, you put me at a computer for 12 hours, I will give you some massive output. So I think through that, he's been able to handle a lot of those things and challenges that come with scaling that I don't necessarily like to deal with. Unruly clients, employee issues, HR discrepancies, hiring, spreadsheets, which really allows me to scale my talents.
Awesome. So I mean, that's how you kind of built your businesses, is 12 hours in front of a computer in between shifts or something with med school. So yeah, just being able to do that every day and like not having to deal with people, that makes a ton of sense. But just based on the background you told us, you have like your business side of things, then you have your doctor side of things. Talk about how those kind of blend into. Do you have a more direct question about that, Dan?
No, you got 2 passions. Like you got the marketing, what we've talked about a lot, and then you got the doctor, and where you're looking in the cosmetics. And I see your content, and you're talking about the Botox and the weight loss drug and peptides and all of that. So talk about like where your passion is, and if you compare the 2 first, we can start there.
So when it comes to creating content, it feels really inauthentic when you're making content about stuff that you're not doing every day. And it's a lot harder to create that content. And I feel like you can tell as a consumer, you're watching somebody, it's like they really know this shit, or they really don't.
Right.
So at some point, I pretty much stopped making medical content. It was close to like a year ago. I kept doing it for a long time, but burnout comes and you can only put so much shit on your plate. I was running the podcast. I was running the PR agency, burning the midnight oil and trying to grow that thing and scale the team and put out fires. And then I'd say the real switch from turning the medical content machine off was when I started the Lead Gen J thing. So I got really good at B2B marketing, automation, cold email, ads. So I started teaching a lot of this stuff. I started a YouTube channel, I think it was like 2023, beginning of 2023. And I originally just started posting it on my doctor channel, but nobody gave a shit. The videos all bombed. So I talked to a bunch of experts and they're like, sorry, you need to create a new channel. There's no way out of it. This is what the audience is expecting. This is what you're giving them. And the algorithms are just going to punish you. So made it a new Instagram channel, made a new YouTube channel. And I realized that, this is what I'm doing every day now. I'm marketing, I'm building, I'm running ads. Like this is what I should be creating content about. So I decided to go all in on that in 2023. Started the Lead Gen J channel and I was posting 2 videos a week every week for
Long form
for a year. And very few people watched for like 6 months. And then it just started to take off for like the lead gen space is, 10,000 views, 20,000 views on a video. Ended up growing to now, I think we've got like 60K subscribers, which is probably like top 3 for the B2B lead gen space. And that's really been a primary focus for the past year and a half is growing that side of the business. It started off as just a YouTube channel where I was going to teach and maybe some business owners would like what I had to say and sign up for our agency. But before you know it, a bunch of people are asking for a paid course. A bunch of people are asking for coaching. So it pretty quickly branched off into all of those things. And then a new business was born. Still call it Lead Gen J as a business, but now I've got 15 people working for me on that. And most of them are involved in social media. I've got paid ads guys, search guys, community guys. I've got 30,000 people in my online communities. So that probably pulls like 34 to 40% of my time nowadays.
Wow. So that split, that doesn't funnel people into Otter at all.
Not anymore. We made a decision a while back to...
Who's we? You and Scott?
Me and Scott. Because Otter originally was like contributing to editing the videos and I was funneling traffic to Otter and ended up building a lead gen agency inside of Otter and then had to shut it down, just conflict of interest and things weren't working out so well. So broke it off, stopped referring traffic to Otter. I now fund 100% of it. And that Lead Gen J is 100% mine.
Wow. Got it. And so what do you have an online community? You said 30,000 people. What is that, like Facebook group or Discord or?
30,000 between the different communities. So between school, skol.com.
School, yep.
We've got a Facebook group. Those are probably the main sources.
And then they're funneling into courses and coaching and things like that. What else?
Courses, coaching. We do full build outs. So with those types of offers, there's typically three types of buyers. The ones that are coming in and don't have any money, want to do it all themselves. Here, go take the course. Some people like a little bit of hand holding, but also they want to do it themselves, but they are able to afford a little bit extra, someone to hold their hand, give them the resources, point them in the right direction. That's kind of the coaching program. And then the people who just want to come in and say, hey, I need these systems for my business. It's already running. I don't want to learn it. Just do it for me. So we do those done for you build outs as well.
And build outs for funnels? Build outs for what?
Mostly cold outreach automations.
Okay. So it's cold outreach. Got it. And when did you started the channel and everything? You said how long ago?
Beginning of 2023.
2020, which is recent. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty recent.
And 2 years. And did you build that out? Are you running ads and stuff yourself to those courses and that funnel? Or is it mainly just coming from YouTube and Instagram and things like that?
We're now running ads. We're now marketing everywhere. And I've got, my Meta ads guy, my Google ads guy, my Reddit ads guy. But for the first, 8 months, it was just all from YouTube. It's still mostly from YouTube.
And how does Scott feel about this? And you say that can get deep right there. But what I meant is because you can funnel, you have this big audience in marketing. You can funnel it to Otter, which is your 50-50 partner.
Kind of. And I wish it were easier to do that.
It didn't correlate like that?
No, because I teach B2B lead generation. The people that are coming into my channel don't really want PR services. They want automated leads.
Got it. So it's a little disconnected there.
Very disconnected.
Understood. Okay.
PR does not translate to leads in most cases. PR is an authority builder. It's for people to, stamp as seen on Forbes, to get on TV and run it as an ad. Lead generation is a little bit different. So we tried that originally and nobody was booking with our PR team. We still get a lot of referrals to the PR team because I talk about it all the time, I mean, that's my main use case for making content is look what I've been able to build for my PR agency. This is the tactics that we use. This is how we do it. So anyone who is a good fit for PR goes to the PR agency.
Got it.
My whole audience knows that I run the PR agency.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was clear.
Did you have any of this in mind when you like started that YouTube channel, or is it like I'm just gonna start teaching? Because you could have made a YouTube channel about PR and stuff like that.
We tried.
Oh, really? And it just bombed.
We started like that.
Okay.
That was the plan. Not that it bombed. The only content that does well when you make PR content is like how to get featured on Forbes for $1,000, and you end up getting really low tier clients. And these are not the type of clients that we work with at Otter PR. So the videos mostly didn't do really well. And when I started my YouTube channel, the approach that I took was let's make content about all the stuff that I know about marketing. I'm going to talk about all of it: paid ads, hiring, retention, offers. And most of those videos didn't do well at all. The one video that really took off was about cold email. And that's the one that I really leaned into. So when something does well, you do more of it. And people ate it up. So I became like the automated lead gen cold email guy.
And you have 15 people with you on that company alone right now?
Yes.
And they work in your office as well? With like is it split out with Otter PR, or they're all remote?
Those are all remote.
Okay.
And those are all people that I've sourced from my communities. So typically people that have gone through my coaching program and just loved, what they learned, and they're just really excited to work with me. And I absolutely love that team.
A lot of those guys, like fulfillment guys on the back end for like the done for you product and that kind of stuff. Is that what a lot of those guys do?
We have two that are on the fulfillment side.
Did they came from your community?
Yeah.
Got it.
I think everybody who I hired has come through the communities.
We do similar stuff because we have the, especially for like the coaches, right? Because we have the done with you type of thing where you're going to get a one-on-one coach, all that stuff. And we hire them from the community. They came in, they learned real estate and land investing, and they fit our culture, and we hired them and they coach. So it's kind of similar thing.
Yeah. And those are the fulfillment guys. I've got a team of like 10 coaches too. The coaching, I work a little bit differently. They get access to this booking portal, and they just pay the coach fee, which is anywhere from like $50 to $500 an hour. And they just pay the coach, and well, they pay me and I pay the coach most of that fee. And then they can book whatever they want when they need it. There's no like monthly fees or anything like that.
Got it. Makes sense. And then, what's your vision for both of these? So you have the media, you have the Otter PR, and you have your own coaching company now too. What's your vision in the future? And then you have your health side where you're on a fractional CFO with equity in a peptide company now. Before we go on, because we haven't really touched on that part, you want to just explain that your peptide company?
Sure. And I'll start with the vision question.
Yeah.
So like, what is my plan with all of this? What do I see in the future? I really love spinning up businesses, building offers, building brands kind of during that initial phase. And then I feel like I've got it pretty down to a science for, okay, now we've got these offers dialed in. We've got the branding dialed in. Let's put the right people in place and go build the next thing. Cause that's what the fun part for me is. It's the building.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to take on one of these projects every year. That's essentially how long it takes to like build a brand, dial in an offer, automate everything, and outsource the maintenance of that company. So 2024, I pretty much did that with Lead Gen J. It runs pretty much autonomously. We've got those people, my staff who does the fulfillment. We've got sales. We've got marketing. We've got ads that work. We've got offers that work. The only thing that I kind of have to keep doing there to keep everything running is the YouTube videos, because a majority of our traffic still comes from that, and new course content to keep everybody up to date with stuff. But I enjoy that stuff. That's easy. So every year I'd like to take on another one of these projects. The one for 2025, which you just alluded to, is this Peptide company. So they made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. These are guys that I've met through the local entrepreneurship community, and they have a really unique peptide offer. We actually go into gyms, salons, spas, brick and mortar stores that have similar audiences that we think would be interested in weight loss peptides like Ozempic, semaglutide, retatrutide, and build these weight loss businesses for them, basically install them into their company. They keep 80% of everything sold to their clients. So they brought me on board, gave me a nice equity deal, gave me a nice rev share deal. And it's a point in the company where I can come in and make a massive change really quickly. And I already have. They didn't have any systems. They didn't have any processes, no marketing. So I've been able to come in and just really change the entire trajectory of that company. It's been a blast. So that'll probably take me a year. And then I'd like to move on to the next one in 2026.
Makes sense. That's awesome.
And fractional CMO. Sorry, not fractional.
CMO. That's what I was wondering. I thought you said CFO at first. I was like, that
I
doesn't
might have.
align with. Yeah. That was off the record. But they so vision in terms of like 30 years, you're gonna have one of these a year. Is that kind of your plan, just to be in as many different businesses as possible, or like, do you want to take one and grow it to the moon? One really, really big company. What are you looking at in like a 30 years type of plan?
So Alex Hormozi, you're probably familiar with him. I'm sure the audience is as well. He's got acquisition.com. He takes an equity stake in these companies, and now he has this team that's dedicated to going in and implementing these processes that can take a company from, 3 million to 30 million. I think that's their call to action. I think I really excel at taking a company from 100,000 to 5 million. I don't really know how to get a company from 5 to 50 million really easily, but I'm really good at implementing all of the processes, systems, and offers to get a company from, 10K a month to 100K a month. So I'd like to scale that as much as I can. Yeah, get involved in as many of these businesses as I can, hopefully with really great offers like this Peptide company, which I think could be, $100 million a year company. So the better that I get at this and the more exposure that I get through social media, through ads, I feel like the more of these offers start to come in. And I've already had one other one in 2025 that I really want to jump on. It's a mitochondrial DNA test, but I know how much work it would be, and I can't do it right now.
Can't get diluted. Yeah. Makes sense.
I can't do it right now.
What do these agreements look like with like the peptide company, for example? Is it a timeline where like you have to do X and X in a year or something like that? Because you seem pretty set on like, I want to start something else in 2026. What do these agreements look like with these companies?
So I won't go into specific numbers, but I'll give you like how they're structured. It's not a timeline, it's revenue goals. So once we hit 100K, I start to get a salary. Once we hit, I think 100K as well, I start to get a dividend. So if the company, there's 4 partners. If we decide to take $1 million and I have, say, 10% equity at the time, I'll get 100 grand out of that payout. The equity and the salary go up as the revenue goes up. So my metrics are directly tied to revenue. The bigger I'm able to grow the company, the more equity and revenue I get up to a limit.
That's interesting. Do you have Dan talked about a little about a 30 year as far as like what's your plan, or do you plan to like learn, like I want to learn how to build a $50 million company from a $5 million company, or is that like let's just keep on learning these things and then it'll just happen? Like what's kind of your thoughts on learning that next step, which is taking a business to $5 million is one thing, taking a business from 5 to 100 to 50, whatever it is another thing. Do you want to learn that, or is it like I like building these from the ground up to $5 million, whatever?
Of course I want to learn it. I'm always learning. So, I mean, what gets me really excited and why I love any amount of free time is I'm studying like crazy, especially as a course creator and like a content creator. You have to be. If you're not on the cutting edge of like technologies, tactics, you get left behind and no one considers you an expert anymore. So, I mean, 2024 was a great example of that. AI and lead generation, clay.com, social signals, all these things that I had never done before. I realized that I had to go and figure out. And now it's relatively easy for me to learn tools and technologies. So I've got a big community. They'll tell me and they'll teach me how to use things that I don't currently know about. But I'm always going to different conferences, masterminds, trying to get around people who are doing bigger things. We just did the Hormozi mastermind a couple months ago. Yes, very interested in learning how to get to the $100 million company.
What about advice for like, you talked a little bit earlier, I think, about advice for like young entrepreneurs, because like a lot of people have excuses about time. Like you're a perfect example. Like time's not an excuse. Like there is enough time to get a lot of stuff done. Like you're in med school building companies. And then obviously you're still doing a ton now. But what's kind of your advice for entrepreneurs getting in or like interested that are listening to this and starting a business, anything like that?
There's a lot of different advice that I'm sure you could give that I could give. For entrepreneurs listening to this and they're deciding whether or not to go into business, I think they get the impression that it's easy based on what they see on social media, that I just wake up and I've got all these businesses that are functioning. I probably work 16 hours a day. And I love it. And I think my superpower as an entrepreneur comes from medicine, working like that in the hospital. But that's the only reason that I've made it this far. It's not because I'm smarter than other people or lucky. It's because I'll sit there at my computer for 14 hours and build things. You have to be better than the other guy if you're going to win at business. And the only way to be better is to learn faster and do more. And that's not the case for other things in life. So my advice to new entrepreneurs who are thinking of starting is does that sound like you? Is that something that you could do? And just be radical about your self-identity and whether or not you have what it takes to beat the next guy and to outwork somebody and to outwit somebody. Because you're doing cold email, you're competing against all the other cold emailers that are out there and successful. If you want to run Facebook ads to a PR offer, you need to have better Facebook ads to a better PR offer than all the other PR companies, or you're not going to convert. And it's some of the most talented people on earth that you're competing against. So I'd say it's not for everyone, but if you're an overachiever and you think that sounds like you and you're ready to dedicate the time, I spent all this past weekend in my office working and recording content, both Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what I was doing. And that's generally how I'll spend my weekends. I'm not on private jets, and I enjoy it. I think that's the key there, is spending that time sitting at the computer, crossing things off my list that I got done, built that, hired that person. Like, that's what gives me fulfillment and excitement. And I think that's like the key to my success and the key to a lot of the entrepreneurs that I know, what makes them successful. You have to give stuff up and you have to outwork everybody.
Yeah. You aligned your skill set too with like what you're good at or what you enjoy too, not just what you're good at, what you enjoy. Like, so you can sit at the computer and do 14 hours of things that you like. Cause there's parts of business that I'm sure you don't like as well. And just learning from his story, Dan, like he moves fast, like 2 weeks of night shift or something like this and another company's built. And then like this, like wasting time on decision making, like little decision making, like you just got to move forward. Like if you make shit happen, like things are going to move forward.
Absolutely.
You got anything else from him though?
No, I think this was great. That was great advice and everything. This is a blast, and we're excited to have you on here. But yeah, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, share this with a friend. Follow Jay on social media. He's got great content out. Other than that, go ahead, Dan.
Where can we find you?
Yeah.
So best place is Instagram or YouTube. If you type in Lead Gen J or just Lead Gen on Instagram, I'll come right up.
Love it.
Go.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, guys. Give Jay a follow, subscribe on those channels. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Thanks, guys.